Welcome back to Cantina Talk. I am here with Jared Fish Eggs Holsizer.
And I'm here with Krika Ryan Shaw.
I like it. So, we are here for Chapter 10, which is Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2. Uh, Kind of an interesting episode. Before I kind of go in on my thoughts, I want to review. Just give me like a star. How many stars? How many Krykna hatchling pods out of 10 do you give this episode?
Um, I'd probably give it like a 6.
Six? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 6.5, 7 range is where I'm thinking. And while the episode was going, and I do want to start here and get out the negatives out of the way, and then let's talk about what we enjoyed, because I actually did think this episode was fun. However, I think
Yeah,
that there's some
definitely,
stuff
definitely.
that this show needs to address about what it wants to be is mainly my big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 1 of this entire show, they hit us with a bombshell, a huge bombshell that shook Star Wars Nation. And that was obviously the child and the species. And ever since then, there is that looming idea of where, why, how, what, where, and why, right? Like all those. I said why twice,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's weird to go on these side quests that still has those questions looming over. You can't get rid of those questions until you answer them. And I don't
Yeah.
mean that you need to answer them right away, but I think you need to have visibly progression towards those answers or reasons why we're not getting those answers. And the reasons not be, well, because Armando wants to do something else today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you kind of feeling the same way I do? What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Why did you rate it so low?
Well, like, yeah, we have these unanswered questions, but like, I don't know. This just seemed like another regular Mandalorian episode. You know, he does something, he has a new character come with him,
Right.
and then like like it's just like another Mando show like episode.
I agree. I don't know. I think that a couple it's weird because part of me, half of my brain tells me no, they should be answering questions, they should be pushing the plot forward, and the other half of my brain goes, we're getting a fun, exciting Star Wars adventure, just enjoy it, you know. And i
Yeah,
don't i don't really know what to feel which episode, and it this show kind of makes me, I realize about 10 minutes in, oh, it's this kind of episode. Okay, it's a sit back and relax and forget about the child and what's going on with the child this week. And
yep,
we'll get to that another day, and I know we will. And it's a weird kind of feeling to have 10 minutes into the episode of like, oh, I could probably skip this one. I'm not going to, but I probably could, and that would be okay. You could
yeah,
start
yeah,
next week episode, and I do not think you've missed much. I could just tell you that this fish just came, and then again, spoilers. Obviously, we're gonna spoil this whole episode, but yeah, I think we both kind of have the same problem that maybe as fans we need to get over a little bit of like, okay, we might just get some fun Star Wars episodes, and that's okay. But I think it is, the showrunners are raising these questions. They're raising the questions about the child and not giving us the answer or pushing the story towards the answer. And if they wanted
yeah,
to do a fun Star Wars exploration of the week, they could have done a different show, but they didn't. They chose to make it this big. And I think that comes with the burden that you got to answer some questions.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, I agree.
Right on.
And not only that, but Mando is a horrible father right now.
He is a
What
horrible father.
this child is roaming around.
Yeah, I know. And I kind of had the thought, can he not establish a language with this child? Like, why haven't we I mean, the Yoda species is very smart. They said he's already 50. At what But then does that make him dumb, because at what point does he begin to develop languages? Cuz I'm surprised Mando hasn't sat him down and said, "All right." Points to himself and says Mandalorian, and then points to him and says child, and then wags his
Yeah,
finger and
yeah,
says no. Like, why aren't you training him these things? And I don't know if
yeah,
he could even learn them. But yeah, I
yeah. No,
agree that he's not been the best father. Also, something
yeah,
I wanted to touch on that I was. This is a. I think that. Okay. I, okay, this is going to be the last gripe we have. Then we'll go into what we liked about the episode. The Mandalorian does not care about life, natured life. And let me explain what I mean. 3 separate times from season 1, episode 1 to now, he has walked into the domain or the home of another being, slaughtered that being in its own home, and then left. Right? He did it with the Reek. He just walked right in, slaughtered it, and left. And I understand that the Reek he needed the egg out of, but still, you kind of walk in there, kill it, and leave.
Yeah.
He did it again with the Crate Dragon, which, again, it was terrorizing a town, but still. And then the third time here with the Krykna, you just walk in, you bothered it in its home, and then you kill it. And then you just leave. And I'm like, man, like, I don't know, like, it has some weird, and to me, you know, I like my main characters, my protagonists, to be sometimes kind of dark, where you're like, oh wow, like a good example is The Boys with Butcher. It's like, man, I know that you're our protagonist, I know you're a good person, but you have so many flaws. And I don't even think that that's this with The Mandalorian. I think it's recklessness, and it's almost, I don't want to say bad writing, because I think this show's written very well, but it almost feels like this isn't a character flaw, this, because it's never addressed. The downside of it's never addressed. The fact that he's just killing that, you know, all of those Krykna do not have a mother anymore, and they're going to die off. And as we're about to learn, because we want to talk about this species, the Krykna, they're not native to that planet. They are not. So they are probably going to die off in entirety. So he just killed an entire civilization just because he crash landed, and then he wasn't watching over his child enough to where it ate one of its hatchlings.
Yep, and then it woke everybody, and now it's dead.
And then the next episode rolls through, and we're like, oh, hey, we've totally forgotten about that. But I want to see I want to see the Mando feel bad about something like that. Like, does he not care about life like that? Like, it's just kind of a weird thought I've had. Now we can jump into this episode and what we enjoyed about it, because I just love Star Wars, and I love Star Wars weirdness, and this show, it looks incredible. The practical effects in this show is so good.
Yeah, beautiful.
What are some of the stuff you liked about the episode, though? Because I could just drone on talking forever. So,
what did I like about the episode? I liked the very first fight scene when he gets tripped up by the wire, and he grapples the gun that he's about to get shot by and knocks out 2 guys with that same gun.
That was sweet. Yeah, the combat's been really good this season so far.
Yeah, the combat's been pretty good, and then him like using his flamethrower and whatnot, and you can see how precise he is with his aiming when he's shooting these little spiders right off the walls.
Right. So we're going to bounce back and forth here. Let's talk about the Krykna really quick. So while we were watching, I was watching it with Eric, who's doing all the Rebels reviews, and I looked at him and I said, is that the spider from Rebels? It's kind of a it's a weird spider. It's a force-sensitive spider. It's pretty much hunting down Kanan, and once Kanan calms himself, the spiders go away. And he goes, it looks like it. And we kind of went back and forth for a minute, and then I looked it up after the show, and yeah, it indeed is the Krykna from the planet Adelon. And the interesting part about that is Adelon is a dry, humid, like sand planet. And this place that we've gone to, this moon or whatever it is, this ice planet, is very much not so. So, and they're native to Adelon, the dry planet. So how did they get over here to this space or this snowy planet? How did they survive? How did they acclimate? Which is all questions that my Star Wars nerd brain is like, I might need an explanation for that, or I might not sleep well tonight, but that's okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're probably not going to get an explanation.
I don't know, man. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Pablo Hidalgo. That's the right name. Yeah, Pablo Hidalgo is the guy that does the background lore for Star Wars. I'm sure he's on it. I'm sure he's on it.
Yeah, probably.
What did you think about the Rebels showing up? The Rebels, which became the New Order, or the New Republic. What did you think about that?
I thought it was pretty neat. I like to see like the X-wings. That's what they're called, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you notice that Dave Filoni was flying one of those X-wings?
See, I didn't notice it, but I noticed that he looked familiar.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wait, one of those guys looks familiar.
Yeah, that was Dave Filoni. I love that he likes to put himself in those scenes. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd like to see that they're out there cleaning up after the Empire. Like I think they even said like, oh, we need to make sure that you don't have any like Imperial runaways or something like that. So I like that they are addressing the fact that hey, picking up the Empire and making sure that the Empire is truly dead takes a long time. We're 6-7 years after the Empire's dead, and we
Hmm.
are still trying to find where the Empire is hiding. I mean, we saw it last season on Navarro, where the Empire's literally hiding out on some of these planets, and I like the idea that yeah, someone's got to go out there and make sure that you're stomping out the ashes, kind of a thing. Like when you have a fire and you're putting it out, you got to stomp out all those little ashes to make sure it's not gonna, you know,
Come back.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. Um, what did you think about the fish lady? I couldn't find the name of the race, which I'm sure there's people watching that know it and are gonna shout at
She
me, but I
was
couldn't find it. But go ahead.
she wasn't a fish lady. She was a frog lady.
All right, yeah, my apologies. Whoa.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting that she like she couldn't communicate with Mando because
Mm-hmm.
Mando didn't know that language. So she took some sort of the robot, a drone that he had killed, and got into its vocabulary and started speaking with Mando, saying like, "Hey, get your ass up. We need you to
Right,
go."
right. I thought that was clever. Yeah.
But yeah, she was like she jumped around like a frog. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I like
But
that.
yeah,
I actually like.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I don't see where she's gonna tie into the rest of Mandalorian story,
Mm-hmm.
other than like I don't think that she's telling the truth that her husband knows where more Mandalorian is. I think she's
Yeah,
just trying to get a free ride.
I think so. And I think we learned that from this episode that she will do whatever she needs in order to get her children safe.
Yeah,
And yeah, when she's like, "Oh, who was it that you knew?" "Oh, a friend. It's my husband. New one, I guess, sorta." And now what? Her husband's dead. Like she said that he paid the price for their family to go
yeah,
over there. So it's
yeah,
like, oh, she could just get there and be like, "Oh, he said he was there. Good luck finding him," and then just like run off to the other side of the planet.
yep.
Yeah,
And
you're
I
right.
also I thought it was kind of funny that Baby Yoda kept stealing her little eggs.
Right. I think baby or the child was a little bit better represented this episode of actually having something to do with the plot at least. I do think next week that's going to pay off. I'm going to do a prediction here that I think that the pod that little the frog girl has, I think that's
Hmm.
going to be broken, lost, frozen, something bad. And I think that the child is going to spit up all the eggs that the child has eaten as
Yeah,
oh no you're because she's it's gonna break and she's gonna go oh crap my whole civilization's dead my whole bloodline is dead and the child's gonna be like no I have these ones stored in my cheeks and gonna
yeah.
plop
See,
plop 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 plop.
that's what I kept thinking about during that
Right,
whole episode. I was like, something's gonna happen to these eggs during this episode. I thought it was gonna happen during the episode, and
right,
he's gonna spit those up. But I guess we'll have to see next episode.
yeah, so all right, wrapping it up. One small thing I wanted to touch on here that's also in my review. I think I kind of like that we got our first Mandalorian returning background character and he got a name, the big Sabacc playing giant ant, Mr. Manable, who I really want to play Sabacc with him. I mean that's awesome.
He he was a returning character.
Yeah, he was from season 1, episode 5. When Mando came here, he was in the background playing Sabacc. From when he came to Tatooine.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of like, I mean, background returning character, right? But still,
Yeah,
I mean, those little small things is what I like about the show that they remember. I think that Dave Filoni's pretty good about, and I guess I should give credit to Colin Trevorrow as well, is pretty good about throwing that stuff in there. So, what do you think ultimately to end the episode here? What do you think about splitting it up into 2 episodes? Obviously, we don't know how the story concludes, so we can't really say, oh, you should have put it in one episode. But do you think that this covered enough to warrant splitting it into 2 episodes, or do you think that you could have just cut out the ice planet and gone right to the next part and put it all in one episode?
Um, Probably. I think they could have done that. Yes, they could have forgot the ice planet and gone to the next part.
Right,
But
and it's still a
this,
little early to tell. Maybe the ice planet will pay off in the next episode, and we'll say, "Oh no, I'm glad that they went there." But
yeah, I mean, it's still interesting to see. Like, I've never seen a croak or whatever
yeah,
spider
cracking it,
before,
yeah,
so like,
yeah, and that's
yeah,
what we're
it's
talking
pretty
about.
interesting.
Right, it's a fun episode, but there's that gap, there's that looming thing, and my big worry, as we know that season 3 is been confirmed, and even season 4 is kind of being talked about. I'm worried that they're going to save the reveal of the child um, until the final episode, and until then, it's going to be a lot of episodes like today. And I'm okay with that, but I think if you're gonna have fun Star Wars adventures, put them in a different show. Maybe that's what the Cassian Andor series should be about. The one
Hmm.
that's the Rogue One spinoff. Make that your, oh, this is just gonna be our weird quirky, you know weird adventure of the week. But I don't know. I want answers in Mando. I'm getting itchy for something. I mean, we got
Yeah,
something last week, so maybe I just need to be patient. But if at the end of this season, if we're not anywhere else when it comes to the child story, I mean, I know that Mando, his story is going to progress with Boba Fett this season, but I don't know. I want answers on the child, the question that they raised at episode 1, and I'm a little worried for the first time that we might not get it for some time.
yeah, I would like that as well, but didn't they post something on Twitter saying like, oh, season 3 and 4 is where you're gonna start getting some real answers.
Yes, yes, you're right. You're totally right.
See, I don't
Thank you
I
for reminding me.
that's I don't necessarily want to have to wait that long
No,
first.
no, not
Like, give me
us.
a little taste of something to get
Or
me through the
like,
season.
gosh, no, yeah, you're so right. Like, and I shouldn't be comparing the show to other shows. I know that that's probably not the best type of thing to do, but when you're talking about, some people are saying that this is one of the best shows on television, and my thing is, if a show, I think it's part of a show's duty to iterate on itself. You know, kind of the idea of give you one big question, and when you answer that question, raise two more questions that are just
Hmm.
as big or that you want to know just as bad. And I feel like they raised a question episode 1, and here we are 10 hours later, or I guess it's not 10 hours, but 10 episodes later, and we're being told that we'll understand the answers in another 7 episodes,
Yeah.
right, from
Hmm.
corresponding to that tweet. So, but we're not complaining here. We're even though we rated
Still,
it
we're
lower
still
than an
loving
8,
it.
we're having
We're still
fun.
loving it.
It's a
Yeah.
Star Wars. Like, you could tell me, hey, you're not going to find anything out about Baby Yoda until 2025. And then I would go, bummer. And then you could say, there's a new episode of The Mandalorian out. Do you want to go watch it? And I would flock right to the seat as quick as I
Yeah.
could. So,
Yes.
so
Same.
yeah. So we're not complaining, but we do have to compare this. If we do gotta be honest about what we're being shown versus what we're being, what's behind the curtain versus what's being shown. But
Hmm.
well, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I'm enjoying doing these reviews with you. I think that, if anyone out there, if you're listening, and if you have a friend that loves The Mandalorian, but maybe he doesn't know a whole lot, so he needs that little extra nugget of knowledge to really go into the episodes with, understanding more, please show him this podcast. I think we do a pretty good job of covering stuff that you don't get in the episode. I feel like we go that a little extra mile to cover something extra. So,
Of
is there
course.
anything else you want to say? Sign off with, or do you think we
Um,
covered it pretty well?
I think we got most majority of it.
I agree. I agree. We'll be back to hopefully conclude this kind of the story arc here. So, until then, may the force be with you.